Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
Look, I understand that the playoffs have a lot of random outcomes and that, one game where you played well but you let a goal in at the bad time can change the course of a series. But Florida.
I knew this was going to be about Florida.
Just making me look so stupid.
I might have been premature about taking them out of my loser franchise bracket.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe the requirements are you have to win a game in the second round.
Yeah, if you don't win a game in the second round, then your first round win doesn't count.
Yeah, my God.
It's got to be gut-wrenching for Leafs fans right now, eh?
And Florida scored a power play goal today. So they're probably like, oh, monkey off the back. Oh, nope, we still suck.
Well, they could have scored a couple on that one, but, the refs and anyways.
It's not been good in the second round, I'll tell you.
Playoffs season.
Yes, it's been fun overall. It's to the point where you have like big national broadcasters calling it out, and I'm like, whoa! Like Ron McLean saying that on air and talking about what's going on with refereeing and like disagreeing with decisions. Ron's a ref.
Yeah,
Ron's part of the brotherhood. He knows how hard it is for referees to officiate this game, and he's calling it out. And you're like, eek.
Well, it's just getting dumb, for lack of a better word. Like the Hagel cross-check from behind today. Like, I'm very sympathetic to refs in general. Like, you're going to miss calls and have bad calls every game. The game is so fast, and I don't think fans truly appreciate how much faster it is at ice level.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you miss a cross-check, you miss a trip, you miss a hook, or it looks like there was one, and, oh, you were wrong, it wasn't that guy's stick. Whatever. The fact that they reviewed that play, and they looked at it for a good long while and then said, nah. Like, that's inexcusable. That's just, you're bad at your job.
It's ubiquitous across sports, though. English Premier League fans, and I don't want to talk about what happened today, will note like the onset of VAR and everyone's saying, oh, yeah, well, that's going to change everything. And they still go to VAR and they check everything and they still get it wrong. And you're like, well, what's the point? Anyhow, welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk to you about not just the playoffs, but also the Detroit Red Wings, the upcoming draft, the vacant head coaching spot, and everything else to do in the world of Red Wings and NHL hockey. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Hanna.
Yeah, you can do all that. I'm just here to bitch about the refs. I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
Yeah, at least both of you are on brand. Like I said on this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, we'll be talking about the news of Barry Trotz and his continued, they're calling it teams interviewing Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz is interviewing teams right now, as well as a couple of depth signings for the Red Wings. And then we're going to continue our Detroit Red Wings 2021-2022 season in review series, where we'll take a look at the rest of the forwards, likely in a series that's stretched out. But hey, really notable news like Jeff Blashill being fired and Elliot Friedman coming onto the show are good enough reasons to split up that series. I hope you all can abide by that.
Listen, when your team sucks, it's a long off season. The more we can spread out the content, the better for everybody.
And Friedge coming on here and talking about how Steve Yzerman is a hard ass and you have to play ball with him. It's not bad. It's a nice way to mix it up.
I love it.
Thanks again to Friedge for coming on the show, by the way. We'll be talking about the playoffs and what's happened there. Most notably, my bracket falling apart pathetically. But no, seriously, the playoffs progressing in a way I think a lot of people are pretty surprised with. And then we'll get into some random league news and take a look at some betting odds before jumping into overtime. Before that, I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, the Wings Money on the Board campaign. Thank you all so much who have pledged, who have donated. We are almost wrapped up. We are very, very, very close to a stretch goal of $30,000 raised for the Jamie Daniels Foundation through Wings Money on the Board. I think a lot of people made pledges for the Calder Trophy and what comes to that. So after that is done and after those pledges are in, then we'll tally it up and prizes will be sent out. So thank you all so very much for your support of the foundation and what an incredible season. Secondly, our good friend Prashant Iyer, who ran Wings Money on the Board and created it alongside us, is also writing a series for wingedwheelpodcast.com right now. It is his annual What Would I Do, or What I Would Do If I Were Steve Yzerman series. I think last year he was like nearly every contract was correct and was off by like cumulative $500,000 across all of them or something.
Which is insane.
Yeah. Prashant absolutely knows something. He has the crystal ball into Steve Yzerman's mind, and it's the only way. No. part 2 of it will be up. Part 1 is up on wingedwheelpodcast.com right now. Part 2 is available at the time of recording exclusively to patrons, but will be posted on the wingedwheelpodcast.com blog as of Monday at some point. So take a look at that. And thank you to Prashant for putting together that excellent series.
Yeah, but did he nail the Steve Kampfer contract?
He missed that.
How could you?
And he left you off of the it's a little bit of a spoiler, but the coaches, because the part 2 talks about the coaching options for Yzerman, and he left Evan off the list.
I've coached nothing ever in my life, so I'm definitely a front runner.
Yeah, but you have a coach's face. You have a hockey face. Has anyone ever told you that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Evan looks like every hockey player ever.
He does. Mel, sometimes people insult me in a funny way. They do it. They're very sly about it. They find out that I played hockey, like obviously not like competitive, like I was making the show, but travel hockey, whatever. And they always say to me, you don't look like you played hockey. And I go, thank you, jerk. And then,
it's like you want to ask them to elaborate, but that's an answer you're not ready to hear.
Exactly. And then Mel's like, what do you mean by like hockey culture and hockey bros? I'm like, you know how you think Evan is before you actually like meet him and talk to him? She's like, yeah. I was like that.
Wow.
Just imagine Evan.
This all turned into an insult of me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Misery loves company, man.
I'm
sorry.
left out of it for once. No, just imagine Evan if he didn't know how to put his hat on all the way.
Oh, that drives me insane. I'm such a boomer.
Anyhow, okay, let's talk about the Detroit Red Wings. Not too long ago, Barry Trotz became available as Lane Lambert took his job as head coach. Not necessarily in that order, but I digress. And everyone very, very boldly predicted that Steve Yzerman would be interested in the coach who has recently won a Stanley Cup, has a track record of maximizing his rosters and getting his team to play overall better defense than the sum of their parts. Lo and behold, it has been reported by Elliot Friedman, friend of the podcast, that Steve Yzerman is indeed interested in Barry Trotz, and Barry Trotz is expected to interview for Detroit's vacant head coaching position. Other teams interested, Winnipeg and Philadelphia, have been reported, and then Vegas as well. And I'm sure there are others in there who have coaches and just can't publicly state their interest right now. So not a shock, but good news, bad news, interesting news.
Good news, obviously good news. Because, when he became available, I think everybody with a shred of common sense who understands the Detroit position went, yes, let's do that. Mm-hmm. But then everybody also with common sense went, well, we're probably not on his short list for many reasons. But it turns out the fact we are on his short list is a huge positive. Because there are teams with coach vacancies that were not on that list. Many. So, which is a positive sign.
Yeah. If we're taking the report as it was stated, like he'll be in the room, so to speak, for an interview, and that means something.
Yeah. That's
a lot closer than Detroit was to Stamkos when he was a free agent.
Yeah.
Didn't even get in the room.
Yeah, exactly. And, do I think out of the teams that are, the 4 teams reported, Detroit's the favorite? No, I probably put them at 3.
At best.
Yeah, I think Detroit at this point is more desirable than the Flyers, but obviously not more desirable than Vegas, Winnipeg. They're at least very clearly trying to win now, which will appeal to Trotz. What you think about their long-term future, who cares? But Trotz is from Manitoba and Winnipeg's trying to win now. So
yeah,
that is more appealing to him in all likelihood. But no, it's, the Red Wings are going to get some face time. Steve Yzerman has convinced people of far greater things before.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And you hope it works out because obviously, like we went on the big long spiel a couple podcasts ago, if you can get Barry Trotz, you get Barry Trotz. It doesn't matter how or when. So if this is the how and now is the when, great.
I'm excited for the part 2 of the If I Were Steve Yzerman series to come out, because Prashant goes into good details about all the options, the systems they employ, the impacts that they've had on their team in terms of things like possession, defensive play, offensive output, things like that. I think that's really important for people to see, because it's not so black and white with Barry Trotz where there's this misconception, and we talked about this, where, Barry Trotz gets good defense out of his team, but that means his team's offense is stifled. And that's not necessarily true at all. And you can see offensive output, depending on the team that he had, really wasn't the case with it. And they were able to produce. Washington won a Stanley Cup under him. So, and then they're
actually, to kind of just put a further emphasis on that point, because we'll use an example from this season. Who is arguably the most defensive-minded good coach in the NHL right now? Give me one guess. I won't drag it up, but give me one guess, because I think you might get it.
Sorry. Good
coach who's very ultra defensive-minded.
I'm going through the team. Is it like Rod Brindamore?
Daryl Sutter.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was an obvious one.
Yeah, jeez.
Daryl Sutter, the defensive coach whose entire top line scored 40 goals each.
Yeah.
You can have both.
Wow, I can't believe I said Rod when Daryl Sutter was right there. I was looking at Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. And there's some really good right now. I don't know if it's Trotz that has inspired this, but there's some really good conversations about coaching philosophy. So I like that all of this is happening right now, that these conversations are happening, because I think it can broaden people's minds in terms of what they can expect from a coach. Like old school doesn't necessarily mean always like firm and like demanding of their team. And new school doesn't always mean like wishy-washy and like progressive and everything has to be new and offense only. Like, it's not necessarily that at all. You can have new age coaches who are hard asses, and you can have old coaches who adapt to their teams. Barry Trotz, right? Like, you work with what you got.
And, just because you're an old school demanding coach like Barry Trotz is, doesn't mean your players don't love you. Like, look at Scotty Bowman as the ultimate example. Like, he was the ultimate hard ass, and his players loved him. Maybe not all the time, but they did. And the one story with Barry Trotz that always sticks out in my head, and it's because it's a recent example, relatively recently, is, the type of coach that'll do this for his team is when the Capitals were going on their cup run in 2018, there was a moment in the playoffs where I think they got into like a kind of a tough spot, and like he wanted to loosen the team up, and the Capitals had this thing at the end of practice called a hot lap, where a player would do a full lap of the ice, like balls to the wall as hard as they could. And like, the team would get them going on it. Well, in a really, really key moment in that playoff run, Trotz himself skated the hot lap.
That's hilarious.
And there was video of it, and it was great. And the boys were loving it. Like, a coach whose players hate him isn't going to do that.
Yeah.
So, before people form this generic stereotype because Trotz is that type of coach, that stereotype doesn't ever fully exist. But you got to look at the context outside of, is Barry Trotz a defensive-minded coach? Yes, absolutely. No argument here. But if you think that's all he is, I don't know what to tell you, because I don't think there's any coach that fits into that box fully.
If Pete DeBoer did a hot lap, Robin Leonard would be on the bench trying to take his head off his shoulders as he went by. We'll see what comes of that. Again, like you said, Brad, I don't think it's going to be, like, it's no guarantee. I think this is a different age of the Red Wings, because remember back when we were talking about, Mike Babcock potentially staying with Detroit versus going elsewhere, and we ended up, we obviously know how that one went. I think we were a lot more hopeful, and we were like, like the Red Wings are a good place to stay, and he'll want to be here. Now it's like, I don't know. How much does the Eisman factor come into play with the coach? Don't know. This isn't a coach that's trying to break into the league, right? He can write his own check. He can write his own ticket. Your guess is as good as mine. I like to think that the Eisman factor is a part of it, but Trotz doesn't need, like, he's worked under GMs and
he just got
upper management who have just as much respect commanded as Eisman does. He just got out from under Lou.
Lou, yeah, he goes from Lou to Lou Light.
Yeah, like it's it's up in the air, and I'm just happy, and it's notable that the Red Wings are even in the room. I'm going to title this episode "The Room Where It Happened." I'm just kidding. I won't do that. That's corny as hell.
I don't get it.
That's for the best.
Okay.
There's some people chuckling at you right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry about turning my insult into your insult earlier.
That's okay.
I feel like we need to debrief that after.
Oh, I don't care. I forgot until you brought it up.
Like, Evan played junior hockey. There's not a chirp you can possibly give him that he hasn't heard that is a million times worse.
I don't even know what the chirps would be nowadays with the young TikTokers.
Oh, I'm firmly detached. Dude,
the young kids suck at chirping. It's like
That's
it's
what
the
every
old
old head said.
Yeah.
Though.
it's the old guys.
I remember back in my day.
No, the old guys in the league, like the actual like guys who have seen shit, their chirps are always just straight to the point and cut right to your core. Like they're the good. Like I told you about the one guy this year just skated up next to me, some 6'3" monster, looked down at me and just went, "Where's the rest of you?"
Jesus.
Like it's perfect. I have no comeback to that. He didn't swear. He didn't do anything racist, sexist, weird, and it just cut right to the core of me.
All right. Why don't we tackle the rest of the forwards that we didn't take a look at for our Red Wings season in review? I think we had largely a positive review because we looked at Larkin, Bertuzzi,
took all the good players.
Larkin, Bertuzzi, Raymond, Suter, Verana, right? And then we did put Zadina in there, and Zadina took a little bit of a lashing. But let's talk about the rest of them. And I want to start with Robby Fabbri, who I think had an interesting season, which ended in kind of tragedy with his again torn ACL. It's just brutal, and you have to think that any success that Robby Fabbri had for the Red Wings after coming back from his first two, you were like, this is kind of a surprise, and it's really good to see that his game can still be productive despite some devastating injuries. Robby Fabbri in 56 games put up 17 goals and 13 assists for 30 points. Had, again, he has a bigger role in this lineup right now than I think a lot of people would say you would want Robby Fabbri to have on a cup competitive team, but that is the name of the game for most of the Red Wings right now. What do you make of Robby Fabbri's season?
It was good. I don't think he spent a minute on the top line this year, so the fact that he could maintain over a half a point per game is even that much more impressive. He did play on the top power play unit, but he wasn't one of the go-to guys who would have the puck on a stick a lot on that power play. And he honestly wasn't particularly effective in his role in the power play either, so that's definitely a knock against him. But the Red Wings needed depth. They needed depth to come from somewhere. He was one of probably the best player who consistently played on the second line for most of this season. Suter obviously had his moments. And the problem with Fabbri now is because it's his other knee, it's another ACL. The projection for him going forward is a giant
Yeah.
You hope he can repeat it. And obviously because of his first couple ACL surgeries, speed was not a factor in his game at all. So if he comes back and he's still not fast, it shouldn't make or break him, but it's certainly not going to help.
So he's 26. Next year is the start of a new contract for him at $4 million a year for 3 years, for 3 seasons. So it's a pay increase. I think that as a cap goes up, that'll be a little bit friendlier as well. It goes without saying. I think Robby Fabbri is due for a obviously tough offseason, but next season as well. Like, his ACL recovery is no joke. It's going to be really tough. It's grueling and all of that. And he's going to be missing some really important conditioning. So I wouldn't be surprised if and when he comes back into the lineup next season, he's a little bit slower to get up to speed and we don't see the same productivity right away. The good news is he's still 26, right? This isn't happening to a 31, 32-year-old. That his body still has the capacity to rebound in a way where there at least could be the case where there isn't going to be a massive degradation in what he can do on the ice. But it's a big question mark. There's a chance that $3 by $4 million deal looks fine. And there's a chance that $3 by $4 million deal looks like, bad timing with that injury, and you kind of have to wait it out. I'm personally, I'm pretty hopeful that he'll be able to come back and still be productive on the second and third line for Detroit, but he has a tough road ahead again. What were you smiling at halfway through that? What did I say that was wrong?
Oh, nothing.
Oh,
yeah,
that's new. No. You're just smiling to yourself?
Yep.
Don't do that. That freaks me out. I'm actually nervous now. What do you know?
What don't I know? Lots of things, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say, where do we start? Your take on Fabbri?
Yeah, I thought he had a good season. I mean, really, Robby Fabbri's, it's just a matter of time until he seems to get hurt. Unfortunately so, but it's going to be very difficult for him to continue next year with the pace he was on this year. I think you kind of have to wipe the slate clean, and whatever Robby Fabbri does next year will be whatever.
That's just what you get.
Yeah, it won't be like, oh, he wasn't half a point per game. This was a season was a throw out. But this season, I thought he was good. I mean, he didn't get any first line minutes. He was a loyal soldier on the second, third lines. And he was rather productive. So good enough.
All right, let's move on here. And this is a player who, what a turnaround. Michael Rasmussen. The first half of the season, it's funny because Michael Rasmussen's season was almost inverse to like Detroit as a team's performance. The first part of the season, Michael Rasmussen, I felt, was trying to play a game that wasn't him. Too much trying to finesse, too much trying to like use his skill at an NHL level. Firing the puck really right into the goalie's chest. Wasn't doing much of anything really well. He was really weak on the puck, losing puck battles, kind of getting folded by guys who are much smaller than him. And you're like, it's so frustrating to watch because at the very least you should be strong and dominating with your body. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know what changed. I mean,
Rasmussen whisperer.
I mean, again, one of the things that Jeff Blashill should get credit for from last season is, or whoever did it or whoever was in on it, which it's a team effort. Obviously, player development is a big thing. But around December, January-ish, Michael Rasmussen, a switch flipped. It was actually the team, the social team put up, I can't remember what the prompt was, but players were walking past and talking about their seasons. And Rasmussen's answer was like,
what's your New Year's resolution?
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
And Rasmussen was play hockey better. And everyone laughed. And it was like, good on Rasmussen. He actually completed his New Year's resolution because the second half of the season, stronger on the puck, not trying to do like overly complicated things, just like fire it, get high percentage shots, high percentage chances. He buried those chances. Like I can think of multiple like breakaway or half break opportunities where he buried it. Use his body to protect the puck, use his frame to drive to the high danger areas, crash the net, and played a hard-nosed game where you're like, thank you, Michael Rasmussen. That's exactly what we need you to be doing for the Detroit Red Wings, and he started doing it.
So I think for the first 2 or 3 months of the season, we can comfortably say Rasmussen was probably the worst player on the team.
I would say he was among the worst of players that I had actual expectations for.
If we're talking about players we had expectations for, he was definitely the worst.
If you want whatever fourth line plug was up and around the time, like whatever.
Even then, it was
Danny DeKeyser played for the Red Wings this year.
Good point.
Yeah.
Worst forward. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Not bad. And nothing was going right for him and like all the reasons you laid out. And then a couple things happened. Most importantly, and the timing of it, he got moved to wing.
Right. And
he got pulled off center, and a center has to be good at a lot of things and keep track of a lot of things and, be responsible for a lot of things on the ice. And he can't do that. The thing with Michael Rasmussen and the reason wing benefits him is he's only good at a couple things, but he's really good at those couple things. So if you can make 80% of his game, 80% of the time he's on the ice, focusing on those couple things, he's going to be a good player. Now, when his improvements continued to the point where his season, a lot of people, could this guy be a first line winger, second line winger? Like, is this guy like our top six? Like, get that right the hell out of your head. His improvement was dramatic because he went from being maybe a middle six AHLer at the beginning of the year to a legit third line winger in the NHL. And that is a massive improvement and he should be commended for it. And it's a tremendous win. Do not expect him to be anything more than that or you'll just be disappointed all over again.
Oh, that's such a good point. Because essentially what the expectation for Michael Rasmussen moving forward is first, I hope the Red Wings shore up their center depth so they can keep him on the wing. That was a great point that I should have opened with. The positional change was really important.
Yeah.
But the focus is to continue to solidify the good work that he did and has done and become an even better, bottom six winger.
Yeah. Is he good enough to go plug in on a second line for a Robby Fabbri if he gets? Sure. He could be a stopgap, not a particularly good one, but he's better than any other option the Red Wings have in the bottom six right now currently to do that. So that's again a testament to him. It comes off as a negative, but it's not because again, I think people forget how bad he was at the beginning of the year, which is why I really want to drive that point home.
Yeah.
Because his progress was remarkable, and I do not want to diminish it by saying his ceiling is a third line winger. He's great defensively, and he was getting better on the cycle this year, winning puck battles and finally using his length and driving the net and batting and banging in shitty pucks in front of the net. That's it. I just described all the strengths that he has in the game of hockey. But as a winger in a third or a fourth line role, you can be super effective doing just that. Because the difference between him and, sorry to piss everybody off, late career Darren Helm.
Just asking for it.
But Michael Rasmussen, one of his big skills and traits in juniors was he could finish when he got close to the net. He could find those loose pucks and get a lot of pucks into the net. So he's not this guy who needs to be pigeonholed as just, this is our fourth line defensive winger. No, you get him down the ice and you get him to drive the puck to the net, or you get him to screen the goalie, crash the net. He's a guy who can have a lot of success with that. And we started to see that a little more at the end of the year. There's still, I think that's where his biggest area for growth is he needs to do it more because he's good at it when he does it. But yeah, so you can expect him to chip in a healthy amount of goals. And especially with all the strides he's made off his skating, if he's coming down the ice and that defenseman knows, okay, this guy's going to try and burn me wide and cut to the net, it almost doesn't matter because he's faster, bigger, and stronger. He still might do it even if the defenseman knows it's coming. Which, you can say, oh, well, if he's a one-dimensional player, the defense can read him. Not when you're that good at it.
You and especially with mismatches, like he's not going to be playing against the other team's best defenseman, right? Like Michael Rasmussen's line isn't going to carry, Jacob Slavin on the other end. So you get a mismatch and you drive around or through someone who can't handle you, then that's how you get depth scoring. Does Gary Roberts still do like player conditioning?
Yes.
Yep. I don't know what the plan is for the offseason for Red Wings players individually. I know they have Barwis and obviously every player does their own thing. Get Michael Rasmussen in with whoever can make him just like the raw, strongest person that he can be.
He doesn't even need to overthink it. Michael, eat everything you can and lift everything you see.
All of it, repeatedly, as much as possible.
Don't stop.
Honestly. Like you get that base, you get that frame, that solid, like low center of gravity strength and the images of Michael Rasmussen being knocked over will be a thing of the past. He's just like, his body almost fights against him. He's so big, like he's so long that like you push his hips and he like folds in the middle, like he creases.
Yeah.
You need to he just needs to really focus on strength. His strength did get better over the season. And I will say over the course of an NHL season, especially with jam-packed games, like you generally players lose muscle mass over the course of the season. It's really hard to stay bulked up and lift as much as you need to with travel and games and practice. And he did manage to get stronger over the year. So credit to him for that. But it's got to be a big, big summer of conditioning in my mind.
I had a lot more in the second half of the season comments where I was like, that was Michael Rasmussen who did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I can't believe Michael Rasmussen did that.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know he could do that.
Was that Michael Rasmussen?
Yeah. Like, who is skating that fast? It can't possibly be Michael Rasmussen.
Turns out it was.
Yeah.
One of my low-key favorite moments of the entire season was when they were playing Tampa and there was a turnover at Detroit's blue line and it turned into a breakaway for him because it was a head-to-head race between him and Patrick Maroon.
Oh, amazing.
And he looked like Connor McDavid.
I know.
Bro, he felt like Connor McDavid too.
You know what's funny is I never thought Patty Maroon was a fast player. But I do remember watching that play and going, oh, wow, he's slow, huh?
Yeah, that was the moment where I thought for the first time in my life, maybe there is an NHLer I could beat in a straight line race.
Yeah, those are the moments. All right, so that's Michael Rasmussen. You know what? The lineup doesn't get sparse, but in terms of players that we're going to have a lot of opinions on, it
apply blanket statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have strong feelings about Adam Murray, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, let's talk about a player who I think is really interesting. And it's season in review, yes, but we also have to do a little bit of an outlook. Joe Veleno. In my mind, what we saw from Joe Veleno was a lot of the trajectory we've seen from him so far since drafted and even before. Does he come in and is he lights out right away? No. Any level, you've seen that he takes time to get accustomed, takes time to ramp up. But I do think we saw that again. Like, I think we saw Joe Veleno come in. He ended up getting the consistent reps after however much time. And he did look kind of better and better as time went on. People seem to forget it because a lot of this came at a time where the Red Wings were falling apart almost literally with injuries. But he did look better and better, and it inspired some confidence in him as, like, you know, a solid 3C next season maybe, or, you know, if they stick him on the wing, then that's that. But I think he's viable at center. I think he had himself a decent season working on individual parts of his game.
He had a prototypical rookie year for a non-star rookie. But, you know, better than average because he did a lot of things really well and the counting stats just weren't there. And to be fair, that's because he spent a lot of the season playing with whatever slappies happened to be available on his wing.
Yeah.
And yeah, progressed. You could see he knows what to do out there. He was one of the Red Wings' better, transition players, getting the puck through the neutral zone, carrying it in with possession. He could play off this cycle. He didn't get the puck to the net as much as I would like him to, but it wasn't that he never did it. It's just, you know, he's got to be a little more aggressive with it. And I think his puck moving ability will kind of get a little more shine to it when he's actually playing with players who will get to the right spots and do something with it when he gives it to them. And, you know, I think if you pay attention to, he really did gain the trust of the coaching staff, because when Larkin went out for the season, it was Veleno who replaced him on the top line, which, you know, doesn't seem like a lot when there's, like, you know, 7 meaningless games left. But to NHL players, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
He was the first line center for six or 7 games, whatever it was. They put him there. They didn't put Pius Suter there. They didn't put Michael Rasmussen there. They didn't put whoever there. It was Joe Veleno that they're like, all right, you're going to play with Raymond and Bertuzzi. And did they thrive there? No, not really. Joe Veleno shouldn't be expected to thrive there. He's a middle 6 center at best, and he was playing above his weight class against other teams' top players. But he didn't drown there.
No.
Which is important. So, yeah, I'm optimistic. I don't think he's ever going to be like a 50, 60, 70 point scorer. But he looks like a real good bet to be like a solid, you know, 200-foot, 40-point, middle 6C.
If I actually think I might be a little bit more conservative on Veleno. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I'm just in the mode where I need to see more. I think you just need the proof of work, especially at the NHL level. The center position is so hard to play and play consistently. And he's still young, right? Like, how old is he? 22? Yeah, he's 20.
Yeah, he was Zadina's draft. And I think he was a true...
He's a early January birthday.
Yeah, whereas Zadina was a late birthday that draft.
Yeah, so he's 22 years old. He's got a lot of time. You got to be patient with him. And I don't think you need to go in next season expecting him to be Detroit's second line center. I don't think that'd be a particularly good situation, or ideal at least. But if he can be a, 40-point, middle 6, 200-foot center, I'd be thrilled. I think a great result next season would be for him to be a solidified third line center for Detroit. Because then I think that puts that in play for him to slot into the middle 6, like up or down as needed. For Joe, it's about continuing to focus on the little things in his game. I agree with what you said, Brad. I don't think he got the puck to the net nearly as much as you would have hoped. But like you also said, he's not going to turn into a Lucas Raymond. He's not going to turn into like a hyper productive centerman. That's just not what the Red Wings are getting with him. But the Red Wings also need a 200-foot, responsible, reliable, solid centerman to play in their middle 6. So, yep. Yeah. Okay. The rest of the lineup, there are players here like, I don't know, you can take a look at Adam Ernie. You can take a look at Oscar Sundqvist, Sam Gagner, Carter Rowney, Giovanni Smith, Mitchell Stevens. My note about Mitchell Stevens is that I wish he didn't get hurt because I really liked him as that fourth line center. I think he worked really well.
Yeah, Mitchell Stevens could be that guy. Hey, do you like prime Darren Helm? Boy, do I have a guy for you.
Yeah. Any notes about those players? Like, it's all just kind of, they are who they are, and the Red Wings weren't good enough last year to have the luxury of complaining about their depth players.
I liked having Giovanni in the lineup. Yeah, there's a little bit of extra jam when they needed it, and just helped out some of the younger guys a little bit.
Yeah.
God damn, he cannot skate.
Yeah, it seems to have hit a wall with that. I think we're seeing what we're going to see with Giovanni Smith. I don't think he's ever going to. I don't want to say ever. It just doesn't look like he's going to be a bona fide certain. This guy's on the ice every single night player.
Yeah,
he seems to be probably up and down. Maybe sometimes more than not, depending on injuries. Sometimes in the press box. Sometimes because the team needs a little bit extra juice. There were points in this season where he wasn't in the lineup and they were just getting absolutely bullied, like physically bullied. And I was like, it sounds so cliche and like old school hockey, but you need a little bit of that sandpaper because it's starting to piss you off a little bit, especially like
when you see how heavy the teams in the playoffs right now play.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of jam.
And then like Lucas Raymond, resilient kid for the record. Like he took a lot of like punches. He took a lot of rough stuff from the other teams this year, as they tend to do against productive rookies. And like he always ended up okay, but it did get frustrating after a while seeing Lucas Raymond at the bottom of a pile. And you're like, you wish you had a couple Giovanni Smiths in the lineup tonight.
It does sound like caveman stuff, but like knowing the fact that you've got a cold-blooded killer sitting in the same bench as you kind of frees your game up a little bit.
I think it was Merrick made this point. Anaheim and who was it that tuned up Anaheim in that Arizona and Anaheim.
Beagle?
Yeah. Jay Beagle did that, and Anaheim lost or got rid of Nick Delorier, right? That wasn't lost on them. If Nick Delorier is there in that game, Jay Beagle's probably not losing his mind like that. Or he doesn't have the chance to because he then has to fight Nick Delorier and not an unwilling combatant. It's not
certainly possible, yeah.
Yeah. That's about as much as I have on Giovanni Smith and like guys like Carter Rowney.
We just need a guy who's actually very good at hockey who is also a big bully.
Tom Wilson.
That would be nice, yeah.
Tyler Bertuzzi fits that mold in a different way.
Yeah.
Which is why teams covet
he
him
wouldn't
so
be
much.
like a heavyweight.
No. And you don't want your Tyler Bertuzzis throwing hands all the time.
No.
Hands tend to break in fights.
That's why Tom Wilson suplexes people.
You joke, but you're right.
You think we can bring Dustin Byfuglien out of retirement?
Man, me and my buddies were watching like biggest hits in NHL history, and like 20% of the hits were Dustin Byfuglien. I was like, he probably was letting up.
Oh, he absolutely was letting up. He was as close to as that. Like that's a train. That's a train who just hit a person on the ice. Like he actually was a locomotive on the ice.
The hit he threw on Mark Stone. You guys remember that one?
Yeah.
Was probably one of the biggest, cleanest hits between two monstrous bodies I've ever seen.
You watch that, and then sometimes you get like the ice level mics, and you just pick up the impact of their two frames hitting each other, and you're like, oh my God.
I don't know how Mark Stone got up, to be honest.
His insides must have been liquefied.
Yeah.
A lot of people breathed a sigh of relief when Dustin Byfuglien retired.
Yeah, the NHL could take that clause out of everybody's contracts that says you cannot hold us liable if killed by Dustin Byfuglien.
Yeah. Dustin Byfuglien was a little bit like if Nick Cronwall was also the size of a bull.
Yeah.
Like that's how he hit you.
I remember seeing a video, there was like a scrum and Dustin Byfuglien, like, it looked like he like picked up his like child and like pulled him out of the scrum with one hand.
Yeah.
And it was a grown ass man.
There was one in the playoffs against Nashville. He did the same thing, but he had two predators.
Guys, yeah.
They're on their knees, and he's got one in each hand, and he's just
dragging him to the principal's office.
Oh man.
And he didn't even really like hockey, it seemed like. He just kind of like, yeah, I guess I'm done.
Just stopped. Now he just fishes. Good for him. Another guy I want to talk about a little bit, and I know Brady said he didn't want to, but I appreciate Sam Gagner. And I just want to put that out there. Sam Gagner was oftentimes in a game that was lost, and you're like, I can't believe we have 45 more minutes of this game. And at this rate, the Red Wings are going to get absolutely obliterated and put nothing on the board. Sam Gagner was often the person to just get something done, put something on net, put something past the goalie. Very obviously really well liked in the room. A lot of the younger guys talk about Sam Gagner as like a mentor and a good person to have around. He's 32, and I know a lot of people...
He is the oldest 32-year-old imaginable.
By far.
Oh my God.
But he started in the league young, right?
He must have been 12.
So people remember when Sam Gagner started, and he started, 15 years ago. 14, 15 years ago. So 07-08 was his first season, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And he played a full 79 games, like right off the bat. Wow. So we've been seeing Sam Gagner forever. I appreciate Sam Gagner. I wouldn't hate having him back at all in that depth role. I want to see every position in the lineup competed for, but I like him.
So I'm going to leave my entire judgment on Sam Gagner to one tweet from Sarah Helmeroids.
Yeah.
She did her Red Wings awards.
Right.
And he won an award. So I'll just read the tweet, and that's all my thoughts on it. My personal favorite, the Spare Parts Award, goes to the guy who is just kind of there. You always got to have a guy like that. A utility player, a locker room guy. For the second year in a row, everybody's favorite spare part is Sam Gagner, the team dad.
Good glue guy.
Amazing.
It's perfect. I have nothing to add.
Glue guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Red Wings awards are always fun. Any other forwards? Oscar Sundqvist, what did you think of him after he came in from the trade?
He wasn't terrible, so he was one of the best bottom six guys.
Yes.
The bar is so low.
The bar is very,
it's
very
subterranean.
Low. All right. That's the forwards. Any other notes on any of the guys that were mentioned or otherwise?
Absolutely none good.
Carter Rowney, otherwise known as Jordan Osterley, but on forward. Essentially. Carter Rowney, again, was he a world beater? No. Was he always fantastic? No. Was he fine for what he was brought in for? Yes. And so at times you're like, surprisingly decent.
Yeah, he had not the least amount of goals on the team.
Who did?
Not Carter Rowney.
You tell us. You're the one with the laptop.
Well, you could be bringing your...
I know. I can remember at least 2 Carter Rowney goals, so I know he wasn't last.
What's the minimum games you want to set?
However many Carter Rowney played.
Carter Rowney played 20... He only played 26? Oh, my God. Yeah. Wow. He only played 26. Well, then it's Mitchell Stevens and Danny DeKeyser tied with 0.
There we go.
But Danny DeKeyser played 59 games.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. This series will continue. We'll be taking a look at the defense and goaltending and some...
Buckle up.
Yeah. In a future episode, but thanks for bearing with us on the forwards. As you can tell, it's an interesting year. Oh, we should do 45 minutes on Chase Pearson and Turner Elson and maybe Riley Barber as well. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Before
we got to give Max 45.
Could we do 45 seconds? Let's start with that.
It still feels like too much.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on, I do want to mention that this episode of the Winged Wheel podcast is proudly brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook, a sponsor that gives us hockey fans what we really need, even more excitement in the game. There's so many reasons why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. They're simple to use with great odds on different betting markets, giving you more action every game day. They're tons of fun with unique bet types like same game parlay and exclusive promos on the biggest events. And when you win, you get your winnings back safely in as little as 24 hours. Now listen to this. FanDuel is letting you place your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Just place a bet on any game, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back if you don't win that first bet. If you win, you keep the cash. If you lose, you get up to $1,000 back in site credit. I personally am really grateful for the opportunity to hedge my terrible Florida bracket pick by betting on Tampa Bay. So thank you for that. What we want you to do is download the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get started with that risk-free bet, and be sure to sign up with promo code WWP so they know the Winged Wheel podcast sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code WWP. You must be 21 and older and present in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, West Virginia, Indiana, Colorado, Iowa, Tennessee, Virginia, or Michigan. First online real money wager only. Site credit is non-withdrawable and expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, or Virginia, Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789, 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-270-7117 in Michigan. All right, folks, the playoffs. Evan, as you aptly tweeted, Watergate 2022.
Yeah, Akeem Alou just tweeted something about how Nazem Kadri has received so many racist remarks since that happened that the police have had to be brought in. So
cool, very cool, very, very cool. Very
Ryan's
cool.
favorite topic.
Yeah, no, well, I'm not surprised, and it's gross, and think what you want about Nazem Kadri, but
he clearly was like, it was an accident, like there was contact, there was a loose puck, and I totally agree with him.
Yeah, here's the thing about Naz. When Nazem Kadri messes up and does something boneheaded, it's like egregious.
So obvious.
he brought a pickaxe onto the ice or like elbowed someone in the teeth when they were like in line at Dunkin' Donuts or something. Like,
Yeah.
it's never borderline with Nazem Kadri. That was an unfortunate play. It sucks. It blows. St. Louis just lost their goaltender who was on a heater and who is, giving Colorado hell. He's out probably for the rest of the playoffs. That sucks. I can't look at that and say that's absolutely Nazem Kadri's fault and that it was at all intentional. That's just me.
No, yeah, his coach would bench him if he doesn't drive the net on that play. Like, there's a loose puck near the crease. It's his job to go at it, balls to the wall. And I mean, after what Barbashev did to Girard, I don't know if Blues fans are allowed to go all poopy pants like Jordan Binnington did.
Threw a water bottle at
a water bottle at him.
Eject it into my eyeballs. I want more of this.
I think the only crime here is that it wasn't recorded.
I wish you just saw Jordan Binnington like fly across the screen, just like people elbow right in the face of Nazem Kadri.
When you said with Kadri, there's no subtlety to his shenanigans on the ice. There's no subtlety to Jordan Binnington when he decides to wet his diaper. Because man, does he go nuclear when it happens?
It's 0 or 100.
He's short-wicked,
yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, if you like Brad Marchand's antics and love to hate him, Jordan Binnington's very quickly getting into that same category.
Binnington has to be the easiest goalie to light up in terms of like just getting him to skate down the ice and try to like kill you with his stick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's a little bit nuts.
That series is crazy.
All goalies are a little bit nuts. He's full blown.
That series is a big boy series, though.
Oh, it absolutely.
There's no hiding out there right now.
Well, that's what I said. Like, this is why I think. I mean, Colorado won pretty decisively 5-2 last night.
Netters, I think.
It was close for a lot of the game. You could see the wind go out of their sails a little bit
when Binnington
went out. And what happened when Husso got like caught going out of the net? Was it for a penalty or something?
No, they were pulling the goalie.
They were pulling him and they just turn
the puck over.
Yeah, so like that was probably an empty net too. Like it was a close game. It was just a bit of a emotional loss for St. Louis.
St. Louis is playing them heavy. They got the split on the road. It remains to be seen. Ville Husso had a phenomenal regular season, so he has it in him. But
coming in that situation is tough.
It's hard. It's really hard. Binnington was average at best for most of the year, and then comes in and plays like the Binnington up from their cup run. So it's really tough to lose that behind you. But St. Louis is giving them hell.
Colorado has to have instructions from their coach to like. Don't get dragged into the shit because, yeah, like you said, St. Louis is playing heavy, hard hockey, hitting everything that moves. I knew something had to be up when Barbashev just demolished Sam Girard. Like, that was a legal hit by the rule of the book, but it was like an obvious predatory hit. And
Barbashev's a big boy too,
and Sam Girard's like 4'6". And the fact that Josh Manson and Gabe Landeskog were both looking right at it and did nothing, like the coach has to have the fear of God in them to do that, because any level of hockey, that exact play happens over again. Barbashev's not making it back to the goal line before he's getting punched in the face repeatedly.
I don't know. I really actually hope that St. Louis can steal another one here. I would love to see that series go to 7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's going to be a bloodbath, almost literally.
And as a Red Wings fan, it's nice to see Darren Helm get on the board, but otherwise, you don't really root for Colorado's success. So, whatever comes up, it's fun.
I still think Roman Josi deserves the Norris, but when you watch Cale Makar just like absolutely walk like Ryan O'Reilly, you're just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Like. He not every play he does is like is a highlight of the night, but when you watch like moments in isolation where he just like turns the jets on and you're just like he's kind of transitioning in his own zone and just decides to just turn the corner and it looks like the other guy's Pat Maroon. It
sounds like a ridiculous comparison, but it's a little bit like watching Connor McDavid when he just decides to do something. He does it at will.
He's like Wish.com Connor McDavid, which sounds ridiculous, but like he's an athletic freak.
He wants to walk everyone. He wants to just accelerate from like 0 to 50 miles an hour like nothing. He just does it.
He says, okay.
While changing direction.
Yeah, while changing direction. He is legit. I don't know. If that guy's hips last until he's 32, like it'll be a miracle.
If Connor McDavid's the fastest skater in the league, Cale Makar's the best skater in the league.
He's the most agile.
Yeah. He can do everything on skates, and he can do it at pace, fast, and with the puck.
Let's not sell Connor McDavid short, and let's talk about that series. 1-1. Game 3 is being played shortly after.
You like bath salts. Watch this series.
It has been absolutely bonkers. There's no goaltending. There's no defense. It is just Connor McDavid and friends versus the Calgary Flames. Connor McDavid has 20 points right now. Leon Draisaitl has 15. Connor McDavid in 9 games has 20 points.
The same amount or one more point than Sidney Crosby had when he won the Conn Smythe in 2016 or 2017. He's done it in 1 round plus 2 games.
He has played, I think, multiple games in a row where after the end of each game, someone said, that is the best performance I've ever seen Connor McDavid have in a single game.
Well, that's what he has to do.
Because
unfortunately, that is what he has to do for the Edmonton Oilers to win.
You usually don't see this, though. You usually see a goalie do this.
This is like watching like prime LeBron when he was on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it's just like, if LeBron doesn't have the greatest game of his career, this team is going to lose.
Yeah,
that's what we're witnessing.
It's when they beat Golden State and he just willed it into existence.
Yeah. What was it? The one stat that came out after game 1. They're like, "Hey, can you describe the Edmonton Oilers to me?" Yes, they just played a game. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl combined for 7 points, and they lost by 3.
Absolutely mental. The next game game 3 starts in 45 minutes from now, like the time of recording. So I'm sure something else will have happened, but tied 1-1 where, to start game 1, what was the score to start game 1? It was ridiculous.
Like 9-6 in game 1, 5-3 in game 2.
It was 9-6 the final. And at one point, Calgary was up 6-2.
Yeah. And at one point it was then 6-6.
Bananas. Like, should Calgary win based on the overall composition of their team? I think yes. Edmonton has a cheat code and another player who's sometimes almost as good, playing very hurt, mind you.
They have Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl.
There could be a situation here where Connor McDavid wills this into existence, especially if Markstrom doesn't show up and play well. Then it's very much like this could be an insane series. Throw your predictions out the window. Edmonton could do this, and all of a sudden they're in the conference finals with Mike Smith giving up 5-6 goals a game.
And it only would have cost you $65 to go to that first game.
Really?
That was the cheapest ticket available at the time.
That's fantastic.
Are you sure that wasn't Florida?
Yes.
Because I could have sworn to God I seen a tweet where nosebleeds in Edmonton were going for $378.
Well, that was...
Oh, is this Calgary?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the game tonight. You're right.
Well, let's talk about Florida. Down 3-0. They scored their first power play of the goal of the playoffs today and still lost the game. That power play has been such a failure that late in game 2, they were already down 1-0 in the series. They dropped the first one at home. Late in game 2, they had a power play that they did absolutely nothing with, and then they let Nikita Kucherov pass to Ross Colton out in front, who was uncovered. Mackenzie Weegar went behind the net to try to stop Kucherov. It looked like he messed up his assignment. Colton was free in front, and with under 5 seconds left to play, Tampa Bay got the win in regulation. And they took the 2 games on the road, came back home, and they've won the third one.
If anybody wants to ask questions about what does it mean when, this team knows how to win in the playoffs, this team's been there, they've done that, they know how to win in the playoffs, that's how. Not from a Tampa perspective, from a Florida perspective. The Tampas, the teams who have been there, done that a lot recently, the Red Wings for 25 years, they don't make those mistakes. They don't make those mistakes in the second period, let alone with 5 seconds left. So when you talk about a team has to learn how to win in the playoffs first, that's how. Because it's hard for fans to understand the difference in intensity because it always looks intense, even in the regular season. But when it gets to important games and in the playoffs, players live and die. And I mean live and die with every shift, every little play. They are fully 100% mentally dialed for 60 minutes of every game. And the teams that don't know, quote unquote, know how to win the playoffs aren't. Because a team like Tampa, it'll be a 1-1 game in the middle of the second period. Florida will have a half-ass cycle running. Someone on Florida will take a half-ass shot from the hash marks, and a Tampa guy will drop down and take a pretty harmless block shot. Guys on the bench freak out. Hell yeah, huge play. Love it. Like, they know that that's a huge play, and because they're in it, right?
Yeah.
Tampa's that team, man. We hate them, but Tampa is that team. Nobody has more block shots in these playoffs than Tampa. Nobody has fewer mistakes like that than Tampa. Florida's just not mentally on Tampa's level yet. And that's all this series is.
You got to, I'm not saying you have to feel for Andrew Burnett, but like John Cooper, been there, done that twice in a row now, has more or less the same squad.
Well, don't forget how many failures they had before those cup teams. They have been there and been through it all.
Yeah. And then Andrew Burnett in his first crack at it coming partway through a season, he did well with the roster, mind you, but yeah, they're just being out-battled in terms of like real playoff hockey. They're winning in the margins. You know what winning in the margins translates to? You kill a key power play, you kill a key penalty, and then you score with under 5 seconds left, and you don't go to OT, and then all of a sudden you win a game coming back home and you're up 2-0. That's what winning in the margins is like.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
I don't think we put enough stock into the fact that Florida's had to come back to win games like 30 times this year or 20 times this year. You can't do that in the playoffs.
No.
Especially when you play the same team every night. Like Tampa Bay or whoever, the Leafs, whoever, they'll just lock it down.
Tampa Bay especially. Like teams who have been there, they're the ones, they don't do what the Leafs do and give up leads. I mean, they did it a bunch of times against the Leafs, so I digress, but you can't be beating yourself to start every game.
You can't be chasing every game in the playoffs and expect to win, and I don't think people really thought enough about that, because Florida looks like a pedestrian team out there right now, and if I'm Burnett, I literally just show them the shift where Stamkos is literally flying across the ice to block shots and be like, this is what you have to do to win. This is their captain, the guy who scored 60 goals in this league.
Yeah.
And he's out there blocking shots, almost breaking his hand. Everyone should be doing this.
And the team, like I said, they respond to that. And it's so easy to say, why would a team respond to a block shot? Like, again,
you go stand in front of something like that. Holy shit.
Well, it's a dumb example from my shitty league, but like there was a moment in the first round of the playoffs where I was playing. Again, it's playoffs, and it was a team we knew we were going to crush. I went out for a 30-second PK shift. I blocked a shot, cleared the zone. They brought it back. I picked off a pass, cleared the zone, went to the bench. When I got to the bench, my team was celebrating like I scored a goal. Like that's what it means to be dialed in, right? Like they understand every little aspect of what is happening at all times, and they don't have lapses. If they have a lapse, it's because of a miscommunication or because the other team just did something crazy, not because they mentally dropped.
This is going to be a great highlight reel when Florida completes the 3-0 comeback.
That's the thing. But that's the thing, though. Florida hasn't played bad.
No.
Like that game you were talking about, it took till the final 5 seconds of the game for Tampa to win. Florida probably played better in the first game too, but
if Florida played that whole game at 5-on-5, they would have won. It was their own power plays that did them in.
Yeah, it's just those moments, those little moments where Florida drops just whatever and Tampa capitalizes. We've played 180 minutes in the series so far. Tampa's been definitively better for 5 of them. Like,
I think they were better today, but
they were the better team, but it's not like they ran Florida out of the barn.
Let's talk about the last series, Carolina, New York, where the Rangers just finally put one on the board after bringing the series back home. So Carolina has a 2-1 lead in that series still. That one's interesting. I think Carolina is a really good team, and it really is going to come down to goaltending for the series. I don't want to rule New York out. I think it was nice to see them get that win on the board, so the series wasn't a runaway. But they're going to need Shesterkin to be excellent for the whole series, I think, for them to hold up over a 7-game bout with Carolina. Also, whoever comes out of that series is going to have a tough go. Like most of the NHL, most of the NHL is going to be rooting for whoever comes out of that series to come out of the East.
I don't think either of those two teams are prepared for if okay, let's say Florida miraculously wins this series. I still think talent-wise, they're better of New York and Carolina, but I don't think New York and Carolina are battle tested and have the same gumption that like a Tampa Bay does.
I don't know. Carolina's that low-key team that has won a lot of playoff rounds in the last like 3, 4, 5 years. They have made it out of the first round almost every single year. They've been the victim of circumstance too. Ran into some good teams at some bad times, but I don't know. I was rooting for the Rangers in this series, but now I kind of feel like I have to root for Carolina because they're the best bet to take out Tampa Bay.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, I wouldn't mind seeing either team go on, but then again, you see the impact of a goalie, right? Like Jordan Binnington coming in and playing hot was key in them beating Minnesota, and they got on the board against Colorado. Shesterkin, if he plays like the Vezina winning goalie that he is, he'll get past Carolina, and he could also get past Tampa Bay. We've seen a weak Vasilevsky before, and you never know. I don't know if attrition's ever going to come into play with Tampa Bay. They don't seem to weaken ever, and they're down Braden Point and not playing like it. But if they ever get tired, then that could be the difference. I don't know.
Tony DeAngelo has actually been very good.
Oh, he's been great for them.
Very good.
Yeah, lots to come. Why don't we take a look at some betting odds from our friends over at the FanDuel Sportsbook.
What's Florida at?
Yeah.
You want to see those?
What's the payout to bet on Florida winning 4 games in a row?
So we're going to revisit some NHL betting odds, courtesy of the FanDuel Sportsbook, and then we are going to take a look at what our picks would be. And I know we did last week, so we'll see how that ages. Do you want to see what Florida's at to win the series?
Oh yeah, I need to know.
Plus 920.
That's it?
That's Tampa Bay is at minus 1800. So
okay,
that's not a
that illustrates it.
Yeah, but that's not a terrible bet. Still, honestly,
I'm not putting any money on Florida. I've not seen anything to indicate that I would take even the plus 9. If you want to throw $5, yeah, sure, like something small. But I'm not. I've not seen anything from Florida to say, yeah, you're gonna squeeze this out for 4 games. If Florida won the next 3 games, I would still bet on Tampa Bay winning Game 7.
Yeah.
What are the odds for Connor McDavid to win the Conn Smythe? Because I don't think he needs to get out of the 3rd round to win it right now, the way he's going.
Yeah, there's no Conn Smythe odds right now, so we'll see.
I think there was something like a stat where it was like Andre Vasilevsky in series clinching games in the last 2 years is like only letting 1 goal in like 6 series.
Yeah, he's
or 8 series or whatever.
He had like a bunch of shutouts in a row coming into Game 7 against Toronto. And even that,
it's not good for Florida.
No. Carolina and New York. So Carolina is up 2-1. Carolina minus 315 and New York plus 250.
That's not a bad bet for Carolina in my mind, honestly, considering they were the favorite going into it. They're up in the series. And even the game that they lost today, they were the better team.
It's not bad.
Like, the whole recipe for the Rangers to win this series is very simple.
Yeah.
Shesterkin's got to goalie them.
So,
which he did to Pittsburgh in the first round, but Carolina is a definitively better team than Pittsburgh.
Okay, let's talk about, I think, similar odds if you want to take the favorite. Calgary minus 170, Edmonton plus 140.
Well, I like Edmonton there.
I like Calgary there at minus 170, honestly.
Connor McDavid, though.
Yeah, but over the balance of a 7-game series, how many times is he going to be able to do it? And I'll take Markstrom over Mike Smith.
Did you say you're willing to bet against Connor McDavid? How many times is he going to do this in the series? Ryan, the answer is 7. It's just, is Mike Smith going to prevent Calgary from scoring 6? Which, as we've seen so far this series, is a 50-50 proposition.
Yeah, I guess betting against Connor McDavid isn't my smartest move. But I said it, and I'll stick by
there's
that.
a reality here where Connor McDavid scores 20 points in this series and still loses the series. Don't get me wrong.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Am I wrong?
No. No. Yeah, so minus 170 for Calgary, plus 140, which if you forced to choose, which would you take there?
I'm still taking Calgary.
I think this series is a coin flip, so I'll take the better odds.
I put more stock in Markstrom stopping pucks than Mike Smith trying to find his game on a regular basis.
That's what I'm thinking too. You know what else I'm thinking here? Colorado's a minus 800 to win, and they're only up 2-0 in the series. St. Louis is a plus 540.
They're up 2-1.
Sorry, 2-1. I meant to say 2-1.
Yeah.
St. Louis is a plus 540 and they have a win on the board. I understand they lost Binnington, but Ville Husso's still a very good goalie, and if he can get dialed in.
In the regular season, Ville Husso was the better goalie.
But he was one of the best in the league. It's a different game in the playoffs, but still, at plus 540, you don't even necessarily have to believe that St. Louis is going to do it.
That's definitely the value bet of the 4 remaining rounds, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think St. Louis is going to do it.
But at plus 540, I don't mind that at all.
Because Colorado has not looked like themselves for 2 of the 3 games in the series, and they're still winning the series.
Yeah. Do you want to take a look at some updated Stanley Cup odds?
No, because Tampa's going to be concerningly high.
Colorado plus 175.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Tampa Bay Lightning plus 280.
Yeah, because they're basically a lock to be in the Final Four.
Carolina plus 450.
That's not bad.
Calgary plus 650.
That's not bad.
I like
I have to morbidly ask, Edmonton?
plus 1300. There's a big drop off.
That's
Those two.
There's actually no chance they can do that for against Colorado or St. Louis and then whoever on the East.
But if St. Louis does them a favor here.
Yeah, I don't know. I just can't. Like Evan said, that's 2.5 more rounds of this, and that's a lot for just 1 or 2 players to carry your whole team.
I think if the Edmonton Oilers can be competent, McDavid's enough. Now, I understand that.
It's a big if.
That being said, yeah, the Edmonton Oilers without Connor McDavid are not even close to a playoff team, and I understand that. But can you ask a bad team to be average for a few weeks? Yeah.
Could Connor McDavid have more points in the playoffs than any Red Wing did in the regular season? It's looking that way.
Okay. Thank you to the FanDuel Sportsbook for sponsoring that segment, and we will revisit those later on in the playoffs. But for now, why don't we jump into overtime, and we're going to start out with our Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast if you want to help support the show and join the Dub Club. It's a massive, massive help. Anything that you see us able to do, like produce these Winged Wheel Podcast flannels and support the Jamie Daniels Foundation, that is driven by our patrons. So thank you so much for the support in patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast if you want to join. We're going to start with Brian Burr, who says, hey gents, who has surprised you the most these playoffs? For me, Ranta. He has been the most surprising. I didn't think that he would play nearly as well as he has.
Oh, man. I knew Verhaeghe was good, but like the production he's put up while hurt, even if it was just the first round, was really impressive. I don't know. Nobody else is like immediately jumping to mind as hey, this is that guy who came out of nowhere.
You know, can I give you a stupid answer? Connor McDavid. I'm serious.
He heard us talking, the people talking about, is Austin Matthews better than him? And he took it personally because the answer is very obviously no. No, he is not.
I am just shocked that he's found another gear again.
Yeah.
Like that to me is out of this world. I can't believe that he's done it and separated himself again, especially when like Draisaitl's hurt. That's hard to do when your teammates are hurt, right? But he's done it and it's been kind of without question. Like he has been just so damn good, to the point where we're talking about him winning a series as if he's a goalying the other team. That to me is like, that's out of this world. I can't believe that. That's just me.
Yeah, he took the whole questions about if he's the best player in the world or not personally, and he has decided to put the Grand Canyon between him and second place.
Miss Days says, who will be the next coach of the Detroit Red Wings? No ifs, ands, or buts. Only what your gut instinct tells you in this very moment.
Benoit Gros.
Derek Lalonde.
I'll say neither of those two.
Okay.
I'll take the field.
You'll take the field?
Yeah.
Hockeytown Racing Academy says, should Detroit make a push to sign Malkin, and who will ultimately sign him?
Pittsburgh.
I think Pittsburgh gets it done because Crosby will absolutely not abide by that, I think.
Heard there was a 3-year at $5 million per, and Crosby was not impressed.
Yeah, Malkin basically laughed at it.
Which,
I mean, would I sign Malkin to a contract more than that? No, I would not. So there's my answer for the other part of that question.
just dawned on me that we lost in the Red Wings section of this podcast, we didn't talk a lot about Hirose or Comfer. We'll talk about them next episode. Depth signings. That's the gist of it. Nice to see Hirose back, though.
Yeah, I was very happy to see him back. I like him.
Jacob Charlip says, I saw Frege mention New Jersey being open to offers on number 2. Assuming it's Cooley, what does the realistic price look like, and are you willing to do it?
Probably not. The realistic price is going to be pick 8, obviously, and then probably 1 to 2 very significant pieces. Bertuzzi, probably. And then probably something on top of that, and I doubt that's worth it. Because I don't think the drop-off in this class from 1 to 10 is significant. Like, obviously, Wright and Cooley are the 2 best centers in this draft, don't get me wrong. But, you know, if you're taking a center like a Matt Savoy or a Frank Nazer at 8, are they that much further behind than Cooley? My answer to that is no.
The price to move up into the top 2 is, like you said, it's usually too steep. I don't know. The deal could get really complex and it could be worth it, but generally if I was New Jersey, if I was Tom Fitzgerald, what I'd be asking for, it'd be too much for what I would do if I was Steve Yzerman.
Yeah.
That guy who's apparently very short says, thoughts on Marco Kasper at 8, and do you think he's more likely to play center than Savoy or Nazer?
More likely to play center than Savoy? Yeah, because I really only see Kasper at center. I think Nazer's just as likely to be a center. I don't love him at 8, though. He's not talent-wise, he's in the range, but because it's a deeper draft, there's just enough guys that I like more to not justify reaching for Kasper.
I'm revisiting Kasper. Kasper's one of those guys, Cutter Gauthier included as well.
Yeah.
Where I need to look back and see what I'm missing. Not that I think like I'm right and everyone else is wrong. I just think there's a chance it was too hard on them initially, on initial viewings. He's definitely in play. Also, this is a funny question. Also, Brad's elite prospects page lists him at 5'9", and you two make fun of him for being short. How freakishly tall are you? Okay, 2 things here. One,
Ryan's 5'10". I'll get that out of the way.
One, I do make fun of Brad, and he's in my height range. We are both significantly shorter than Evan. 2, are you 5'9", or is that like NHL listing players?
So, because I've had to have my stats taken, I know I'm exactly 5'8" and 3/4. So I round up.
5'9", and then when you
5'8" and a bit.
Yeah, when you're younger and talking to girls, and then you would say 5'10".
Or I was a solid 6 feet.
Yeah, that's a nice thing for work from home. You can just tell everyone you're 6'2", and they'd have to believe you.
Yep.
And then you're outed a couple of years later, but there it is.
The trick is I'm all upper body. I have short legs, so if I'm sitting, I don't look as short. So if I just never stand up around people, I can get away with probably 5'11".
Okay. With Bunting, no, I'll save that one actually. There was a funny story from Ryan Kearns. Stay Fresh Cheese Bags intentionally left a truncated comment. There's a funny one here, and this isn't hockey related, but I want to ask it on air. Nick Geyer says, no hockey question today, but I need a passionate debate on this one. Would you rather fight to the death in orangutan once a year?
Oh, I know this one.
You get a sword, or a chicken to the death every time you get in your car?
Listen, the answer is orangutan, and I understand the animals are, but your life would suck if... How many times... Okay, you work from home. I don't work from home. Do you know how many times I get in and out of my car in a day?
You know, nothing brings me greater joy than the thought of Brad having to fight a chicken every time he gets into his car.
It's economical. Have you seen the inflationary costs of chicken these days?
It's unreal. Dude.
Wait, if I get to keep the chicken for meat?
Yeah, why not? Orangutans are...
They rip your goddamn face off.
They're monsters. Like, I fully understand that, but I get a sword.
They'll catch the sword.
I need to pull up a picture of an orangutan so I know exactly what
you're basically fighting the mountain from Game of Thrones.
Once a year. You whiff.
But that also gives me a year to train for it.
You whiff once ever, you slip, the orangutan ducks
You're gonna
the sword.
fight this fucking guy.
No.
You're gonna fight that guy? No, you're not.
No, absolutely not.
Like if I lived in a city where I could not have a car.
Apparently,
that might be the option. Is like literally move to like downtown Detroit or Toronto and just like take the train everywhere. That's probably the right answer here.
Train chicken is the next question. Okay, we have time for some Reddit comments. Fat JC says, what's the deal with Wallander? It's been suggested that he's not really anything special, but then he had a great second half of the season. Where is he at? Well, to start the season, it was looking to be a little disappointing. A lot of people pegged this as like a make or break year for Wallander to either put him on the track to make the Red Wings, or, would his candidacy as a prospect be in question? And he really turned it around. Like, Wallander really, really turned it around and had a second half plus that was exactly what you'd want to see from him. So are you going to get a Moritz Seider out of Wallander? No. But you have a guy who could plug into the lineup. What are you laughing at?
Does the orangutan know it's a fight?
Oh, my God. Dude, they're always ready to fight.
Do you get the element of surprise?
They're smart. They're going to see you with the sword, and they're going to know.
They're big. Looking at those pictures, I don't want to fight an orangutan regardless of what my other option is.
I would, if I could put money down, I would actually bet on the monkey over you.
No, yeah, me too, probably.
I also don't know how to swing a sword like effectively for lethal actions, so that's a problem.
This one is from Rivians52, and this was an interesting question. It says, with the Wings never winning a lottery, do we need Seider and Raymond to hit their respective ceilings to contend? I think our timeline will match with the downfall of Pittsburgh, Washington, and Boston in 2 to 3 years. A path is there. So I was thinking about this one when I read it, and my answer is no. The Red Wings don't need Seider and Raymond to hit their absolute max ceiling to contend. What they need is for players who are drafted in the second round or an additional first round pick or in the later rounds to hit to contend. They need Wallander to be a regular everyday NHLer. They need Albert Johansson to fit in and be an undeniable NHLer. They need, Edvinson's one of the first round picks. They need the later round guys. They need Carter Mazur to come in and be the Red Wings' new Darren Helm. That's who they need to hit. Moritz Seider, if he only improves at half of the rate of a normal defenseman of his caliber year over year, he is still Detroit's first pairing defenseman and one of their best players. Lucas Raymond, if he only develops at half the rate as forwards in his position, that's still like a 65 to 80 point guy every year.
I mean, he was almost there this year.
Those guys are already so damn good that they move the needle. That said, I have a lot of hope that they're going to get way better into superstar territory if they're not already. But they if you have a conservative outlook on those two, they've already done what you need from them. You need the rest of the team around them to hit in a big way. And that's the difference making. Like, they're not going to win the lottery. They're not going to have all of these first round picks anymore. They're not going to be as high over time. You need your Braden points. You need your late round steals, and you need your guys to turn into NHLers. That's my soapbox. I saw you smiling halfway through that. You were thinking about the monkey again.
Yeah.
That's my fault for bringing it up. Okay. On that, we are going to wrap up and record our Patreon exclusive overtime. Thank you all so much. Very quick note. Some people had reached out and said, hey, you know what? We're in college, or it's just not in the budget to support on Patreon. That's okay. And there are other ways you can support the show. If you want to leave us a rating, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen, leaving us a rating, those 5-star ratings mean the world, and they really, really help out. So I appreciate that. And thanks for just tuning in. Tell a friend about the show. And when you see Brad at meetups and Winged Wheel podcast nights, just make fun of him and say, you look like more 5'8.5" at most. That's the kind of stuff that really means a lot to me and Evan. And then
also point out to Ryan that he's not tall either.
Thank you. All right. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to the FanDuel Sportsbook for sponsoring the show. And thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, our name level supporters on Patreon. Arjun Shankar, Eves Bartels on behalf of the Sarah Garand Foundation, Ake Fur, the Stay Fresh Cheese Bag, Nick Perks, Brett Bailey, Terry Driver, the number 69, Crying Ryan, Hannah's Banana Slamma Jamathong, Matthew M. Rice, Bettman should lose his job based on the Yotes, change my mind, Bailey Howell, Brandon M., Carl Brutina, Nanaluski, Chimmy, Chumbawamba, not Chumbawamba, Citizen High Five, Coyote Season Tickets in Tempe, Craig Kibble, Daniel Garcia, Derek Enstam, DJ Denton, Doesn't Tuesnet, Give Blood Fight Probert, Greach, Hana Lee, Hassam Al-Qassem, I'd Leave My Wife for Cider, Jay Gollum, Jacob Turner, Justin and the Angry Mob, Kaylin Wood, King Tone, Kyle Hashman, Marcus, Matt McKay, Nicholas Fritz, R.A., Ryan Hubbard, Scott Martin, Sean Levine, Stay Fresh Cheese Bags, Zach Spring, Sam Bankson, Stay Fresh Cheese Bags, Adam Now I Finish Better Than Ernie, Antonio Gracias, Babe Landeskog, Ben Barron, Connor Leighton, Dave W., Evans Parking Garage, Evans Bingo Card, James Laporte, Jeremiah Dobo, Jeremy Brocker, JM Rhapsody, John Evans, Josh Yelton, Kevin McCracken, Quaz, Matt Keeler, Matt S., Maximilian Cheesebags, Missing Vladdy More Than Ever, Papa Woody, Puck Norris, Reed, Revi DeLuca, The Pod is Full of Brad Takes, Trevor Pevovar, Zach Handyside, and Zach McCann, a driving range superstar. Thank you all so much, and we will talk to you midweek.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockeytown Evan.